So here's a weird thing, right? This is a paradox. You look at that picture and it doesn't actually, can't actually happen, right? It's not real. It just doesn't go. What about that one? Which comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? What about this one? The blue button is true, okay? The red button is false. So which one's true, which one's false? It's impossible to say, right? So here's a definition of paradox, and I love this definition. It's so funny because in relationships, there are so many things that seem absurd or contradictory, but then when you put them together and you investigate a little bit more and you explain it, it may prove true. So that's weird. There's a lot of paradoxes in relationships. I want to give you one. And this is one of the keys to having a great relationship is understanding there's so many things that just don't make sense. When you have male and female, when you have people from Mars and Venus coming together trying to make a relationship work, you're going to have things that don't make sense, right? So give yourself a break, first of all, and just realize, okay, yeah, there's stuff that doesn't make sense for us. There's stuff that doesn't make sense for you. We're all on the same page there. But what happens is if you manage this well, if you say, okay, these two things are at odds with each other. Now, what do we do about it? So stop pretending they're not, and then treat it with some flexibility, some open hands. So we're going to evaluate love and desire. And I don't know if you came to work tonight, but we want you to get something out of this. So hopefully you have a piece of paper, draw a line down the paper. If you don't, just imagine it, okay?
You can always just use the note section on your phone too.
Have part of your note be the left side of the paper and part of your note be the right side. So whatever you got, whether it's your brain, paper, or phone, let's do this. So on the left side of the paper, you're going to write down your immediate associations. So don't think about it too much. Just when I think of love, I think blank. When I love, I feel blank. When I am loved, I feel blank. And in love, I look for. So I'm going to give you just a minute to think about what your associations are with love.
Yeah, don't overthink it. Write what comes to your mind.
Okay. So now on the other side of the paper, write down your immediate associations with these statements. When I think of sex, I think. When I desire, I feel. When I am desired, I feel. In sex, I look for. And then you're going to discuss the differences. So you each have done this, you and your spouse. Just reflect, on love and desire. I kind of think about these things a little differently. And what did you get? So discuss your differences. So that'll be homework for you. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, and this is a judgment-free zone, and so it can be. I know for Scott and I, it could be tough sometimes because we come from extremely different, different backgrounds and different thought. We're very different. If you do any personality test, anything like that, we're going to be on the opposite sides. So the spectrum.
And I'm definitely more on the perverted scale. I'm way off the charts compared to Tawnya.
So what I recommend, we like to joke too. We both do have a sense of humor. Mine's just a little bit better than his. Just kidding. Anyway, so try not to judge your spouse for what they're feeling, what their thoughts are, because really working through this process, you want to get to the ultimate goal. It's, nobody's right or wrong here. You want to get to the, getting through this and a place of understanding. And so don't judge, just write it down, talk about it, and be like, okay, it's interesting.
Yeah, talk about what if you see something that looks a little shocking to you. Like if we have a couple who's like looking at their spouse's paper and seeing something that they didn't know, like when you think of sex, you think of that, like that might spark or trigger a source of judgment.
Yeah.
What do you do with that?
Well, what you want to do is, definitely talk through it and just be like, oh, that's interesting. Why do you think you feel like that? and find out more. Always ask questions instead of like, oh my gosh, like, unless it's of course like something dangerous or, illegal. That's a little bit different. We're assuming that when you come to this webinar and like, that you're coming with a healthy background and that's free from, we should have stated this in the beginning, but from abuse and, you know, there's differences when you've had like sexual trauma or something like that definitely needs to be worked out, with a therapist. And so we would definitely refer you to that. But if it's just a healthy, you've got a relationship and it's just a normal thing, like, when we did this, Scott had something on there and I was like, what? Why would you, and then I had to like kind of back up and be like, okay, so why do you think you feel like that? Or why do you think that? And then it was interesting just to talk with him and find out more about it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then it actually brought us closer because there was a place of understanding and acceptance.
Yeah.
And it actually increased our connection. So
I think that's the key is part of this exercise is to communicate acceptance. And when we feel accepted by our spouse, then that just blows the doors off of, because what's the huge hang up for most sexual relationships is, shame or fear of being judged, and if you can get these open conversations going, it changes everything. And, just because I have something on my list that Tawnya doesn't, on my exercise here, that Tawnya doesn't associate with, first of all, remember this. If your spouse has a need or desire that's different than yours, does that mean they're wrong? No, that just means they're different. And is that okay to be different? Can we be different? Is that okay? And if the answer is a resounding yes, of course it's okay. We're from different planets, and that's okay. So if you can understand that, okay, I see that difference there, and I understand it. I don't have that same feeling, but I get you, and I accept you. Oh, that's huge. If we could just get couples to do that, oh my gosh, game changer right there.
Yeah, instead of like this whole right fighting thing where everybody has to be right, and this is how we should all feel. And do you want to be right in your own court of law that you have in your own mind, or do you want to be happy and connected and fulfilled in your marriage? I had to make that decision, and I wanted to be happy and fulfilled. And that meant that I couldn't always be right in my own my own mind here, because that's really what it was. It was like, I'm right and you're wrong, and I and that gets us nowhere. So just discuss and for clarity and understanding, but it's definitely something that we work through and give people tools in our coaching process on how to be different, because we have been together for 26 years, married for almost 20. We have 3 children, 8, 10, and 14. So we've definitely had a lot of life experience, a lot of relationship experience with each other, and a lot of different seasons of marriage and seasons of parenting. And we are very different, but yet we definitely adore each other, love each other, and we've worked through all of these things.